Hey guys, I am here to do my updated health life update. Basically story time of what ended up happening to me. Sorry, my brain is all over the place right now because I've really been going through the storm. And just as of the last 2 days, I somehow threw out my hip. And I think I have a hip flexor strain, and which is crazy because I can't even work out. So from laying around in bed, from being sick, my hip inside was really, really stiff, and I tried stretching, and I don't know, I think I may have pulled something. So I am hobbling around, like just to walk, bending over, because I don't know if any of you know like where your hip flexor, like everything that involves your hip flexor is just bending over at the waist, or like when you're sitting and you try to lift your leg, that's impossible. Just getting in and out of bed. I am in severe pain. And if you guys have been following me for a while, you know I broke my ankle, or my dog broke my ankle in April of last year. And this is more painful than my broken ankle was. I mean, if that can tell you something, this hurts really bad. Like, to the point of the pain starts to make me feel nauseated. It's really, really bad. I've never experienced anything like this before. I'm not a real emotional person, but this morning actually, I started to break down because I'm like, okay, that's it. Like, that's enough. I'm good. I don't need any more issues. Let me just get back to the beginning. I got really sick and I was taken, I forgot my ring, whatever, by ambulance to the ER. For those of you guys who follow me, you know that I easily put on weight very, very quickly. And when I go away for the holidays, for Christmas and New Year's, and I stay kind of throughout the beginning of January, I'm in Vegas, and I just kind of like balls to the wall, eat whatever I want. And so when I got back home, I always put on weight when I'm in Vegas. And when I came back home, I went like right into like full bore mode to like get myself healthy again, and eating right and working out, and just working out really hardcore, really kind of switching up my workouts and doing some different things. I mean, there were times when like after my workouts, I was sweating so bad. Like I was like, I don't think I've ever sweated this bad before in my life. And so I was working out really hard and was getting myself, you know, back to, I think I put on 8 pounds maybe. I was trying to get it back off, and I clearly wasn't, I don't know, taking care of myself properly during that time. Day in particular, I hadn't worked out that day yet because I was going to work out in the afternoon. And I just started to not feel right. And I started feeling kind of lightheaded. I started feeling nauseated, very kind of like heart palpitations. Like I couldn't catch my breath, felt a little pressure in my chest, and things just didn't feel right. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And I'm not a hypochondriac, nor am I somebody who like overly panics, because having the number of disorders that I've had and dealing with Meniere's disease, I've dealt with chronic vertigo, vomiting. I mean, so I know myself when something else is going on, and it just didn't feel right. And I was home alone. And for those of you, my boyfriend's fiance is always gone. He tours. Was on a plane actually coming home from tour. I started to feel like I was going to pass out. And I'm like, okay, I'm home alone. My mom and sister live about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour away, really depending on traffic. And I just called them. I said, something doesn't feel right. Like I feel really nauseated and lightheaded, and something just doesn't feel right. My mom was like, well, maybe drink some juice. And I remember drinking juice, and I had to get a bucket because I felt like I was going to throw up. It just hit me even harder. And I was like, kind of like shortness of breath. I kind of found myself kind of like seeing stars, and I thought, whoa, I'm going to pass out. Like I'm legit going to pass out. And I'm home by myself. I just have my dog. And if I do pass out, no one's going to find me, and probably won't for a long time. can't believe I'm smiling about this, laughing about it now, but I was on the phone with my sister and I said, I think I'm going to call 911 because I think I'm going to pass out. Called 911 and I was just trying to make sense, but like kind of feeling myself almost going in and out. And I was just trying so hard to hold on and listen to her and answer her questions on 911. And I just remember telling her I have a dog and so I can't leave my door open because my front door has an automatic lock. The moment you shut it, it locks automatically. So I can't just kind of unlock the bottom lock and like leave the door shut for whoever to come in if I pass out. So I remember just saying, okay, I'm going to leave a doggy gate up. I have a dog, but they can come in or something like that. And she was like, stay with me. And I don't really remember anything after that. I remember hearing Digger bark because they were coming into the house, the fire department. And they said, hello, hello. And then Digger sounds like literally not your typical golden retriever. He sounds like a vicious, going to rip the skin off your face. I mean, his bark is so deep and so just, he's not your typical friendly go-getter golden retriever. I joke and say I got a defective golden, but it's so true. And I was on the couch. I had thrown up a couple times, which I really don't remember other than looking and like, oh, I vomited. And they came in and I was laying out on the couch and two of them started working on me immediately and putting monitors on me and checking me. And immediately they asked me, are you allergic to any medication? And I said, yes, I'm allergic to Reglan. It's either Reglan or Raglan. And so then, like I said, they continued to work on me. And I just remember they just kept asking me questions and I just kept vomiting and going in and out of like kind of passing out and just not feeling well. And as they're working on me, like I said, two of them, so I'm assuming these are the paramedics, I swear to you there are like 10 other people in my house. I'm looking at them, I'm assuming they're firefighters, and they're in my home. Like 10 of them, just standing around. And it really frustrated me because I'm thinking, why are you in here? Like clearly you see nothing else is going on than me. There's not 10. That's an over-exaggeration. But there were probably, other than the two, there were probably about six guys standing around. 6 or 7 maybe. And they're looking like all over at my house, which I kind of, like they were looking at all my photos. So you guys see I have a lot of pictures up. They were looking at all my photos, like literally, like here's a photo, they're like leaning into it and like they're talking amongst themselves, like pointing at the pictures and talking. And I'm just thinking, excuse me, hello, I'm the patient here and I'm not well. What are we discussing amongst ourselves and what are you looking at my photos for? It's like an invasion of privacy because not only do I have like photos like this, but we also have photos and my fiance has accolades of his career hung in the house. So there's like, you know, posters or, you know, like records, golden records and like posters or accolades of his work, things that he's done and tours he's been on and that are hanging up in the house and pictures of him. And you could just like see all of them like staring and like looking and like talking and pointing. And I'm just like, do you know? Like what? I was so annoyed. It just felt like an invasion of privacy because I didn't feel well. And here were these people kind of like peering into my life. It felt really weird. Anyhow, so they loaded me up on the stretcher and took me out to the ambulance and I was just vomiting profusely, just nonstop puking. They wheeled me out of the front door and there's just all the neighbors just standing around watching. And like I have my head in this bag, just throwing up my guts and they're all just standing there watching like, hey, enjoy the show, people. Into the ambulance and I'm just throwing up nonstop. And I said to the ambulance guy who's in the back with me, is there any way I can turn around and face the other direction? Because with my vertigo and my motion sickness, just the drive alone facing in the other direction will make me even sicker. And he's like, no, I'm sorry. I'm just thought, okay, we'll get ready for it because here it comes. Is literally what I'm thinking in my head, but I'm literally just puking my brains up. And he's like, here, put this under your tongue, it'll help for the vomiting. put it under my tongue, and I literally just kept throwing up the whole entire way there. And once in the ambulance, he asked me again, are you allergic to any medication? I said, Reglan. I found out I was allergic to Reglan when I was taken to the hospital by ambulance when they diagnosed me first with my Meniere's disease, because I had been vomiting for like 8 hours straight and my world was on a tilt-a-wheel spinning out of control. And they gave me Reglan, and I just remember I went into complete shock, tremors, like basically seizuring. I couldn't breathe, so I can't take Reglan. So I told him that then too, and then I told the other guy who asked me. So about 3 times I've now told them what medication I'm allergic to. The whole way to the hospital, I'm vomiting and vomiting. I get into the hospital and, you know, they're working on me. Again, once I get into the ER, they ask me, are you allergic to any medication? I say Reglan. And they ask me my symptoms, and I say, you know, my stomach kind of hurts a little bit. I have an upset stomach. And they're like, well, what is your pain level? I'm like a 4 to 5. Like, I basically have to, it feels like I have to go to the bathroom. Like, I have to, you know, have a bowel movement. And I didn't say it like that, but I was like, I just have an upset stomach. Like, I have to go to the bathroom. Vomiting non-stop, puking, and feeling again like I'm just going to pass out in my body. Like, I can't breathe. I have this pressure on my chest. I'm lightheaded. And I just feel like something is not right with me. And so they're hooking me up to things. They're testing different things. They had me pee in a cup. I just won't stop vomiting. Another nurse or somebody asked, are you allergic to any medication? And I said, Reglan. Next thing I know, from that point on, things became very foggy because I was so, now I know I was probably on the verge of, you know, going out. And I was in and out of it, and I remember somebody saying that they were going to give me morphine, and I thought, morphine? Like, morphine? That's like heavy duty. And I remember saying, why are you giving me morphine? They're like, for your pain. And I said, my pain? Like, huh? Like, I was very confused, and they gave me the morphine. He said, it'll make you feel better. Morphine in my IV, and I just remember feeling this searing, burning all throughout it felt like my veins were on fire. I felt like my head was going to explode. I started feeling like this warmth in my body and just feeling like I was suffocating. And I was like, oh no. And I said to him very calmly, something's not right here. Something isn't right. I don't feel well. I don't think this is good for me. And he said, oh, it's okay. Just let it go in. Give it a few minutes. You're going to feel so good after this. It just kept getting worse and worse. I started feeling like my skin was on fire and my head was going to explode. It just got worse and worse and worse. And I just felt like I couldn't breathe. Like there was this pressure on my chest. And I just kept saying, I don't think I can take, I've never taken morphine in my life. And I just kept saying, I don't think I can do this morphine. I don't think this is good. They kind of just left me in the room. And I literally, from that point on, don't really remember anything. I just know that I continued to vomit. And I continued to be sick and feel sick. And I started to feel, after that, like my mom and sister told me when they found me, they came into the hospital. I was in a room in the ER and I was like huddled in a fetal position, basically seizuring and tremors and shaking and vomiting and hallucinating. And telling stories of people who were there that aren't there. My sister actually videoed me, so I got to see some of the video of when the seizuring and like the tremors stopped, when I was just like rambling on and hallucinating. But I was, I guess, just in a fetal position, just, you know, tremoring and seizuring and just vomiting. And I don't remember any of that. I even went for a CAT scan because I wanted to do a CAT scan on my abdomen, which I do not remember. I don't remember really any of that. So I was in the hospital for a while and I was on liquids, and basically I have a disorder that causes me to have low potassium levels, and I also have very low blood pressure. And so the combination of them both is like very dangerous. And I guess my potassium levels when they took me in were like life-threateningly low. So they said to me, the nurse in the ER said it's a really good thing that I called 911 because had I passed out, I mean, that kind of could have been it. With they were just life-threateningly low potassium levels. Like when it gets to that level, that's when you're scarily worrying that's like, this isn't good. And like I said, I have very low blood pressure as well. So they just put me on tons of potassium and IVs left and right. And lo and behold, they gave me Reglan. The medication that I'm allergic to, that I told about 5 people I was allergic to, they ended up giving me Reglan. My mom went up and asked the nurse, what have they given her? I don't know any of this. My mom told me. What have you given her? Why is my daughter seizuring and tremoring and vomiting and nobody's doing anything? What have you given her? And they went on their monitor and they're like, oh, she got Reglan. My mom's like, she's allergic to Reglan. They gave me whatever it is that you give. I don't know if it's Benadryl or whatever to counteract it, or I don't know. But my sister said you could almost kind of immediately see once they put whatever in my IV to counteract it or drain it out or flush it. I don't know, that how my body just like calmed back down and gave me the medication I said I was allergic to. That I said, and they even asked me at one point, what happens to you when you take it? And I even told them what happens to me. Can you imagine if I was like deathly allergic? They could have killed me. It's like the incompetence of these people. Oh my God, they gave me the medication I continuously said I was allergic to. Who does that? Anyhow, so I was in the hospital. I don't know how much I want to say. When they ran the CAT scan, they found something, and I don't think I really want to share that just yet because there's some other tests that I need to have done, and I'm waiting for other things. But once I do, I probably will share it with you guys. I'm usually pretty open these days about other things, but I'm going to wait to see the other tests and other things that come back for that. It was very kind of by mistake that was even, like, because that had nothing to do with the low potassium disorder and levels and all that. Anyhow, so I was there for a while at the hospital, and then I was released a day or two after, and I don't remember much in the hospital until the day I was released. I was definitely more coherent. And when I got home, I was weak, and my body was sore from all the convulsing and everything, but I was like, I felt better, obviously, because I had my potassium levels were back up, and I have to now monitor my potassium, and that's why I showed those greens in my favorites video, because it has an extremely high level of potassium. Up with hydration the best I can and keeping up my potassium and all that. But literally a day after I got home from the hospital, I started to hack and cough my head off. And literally all throughout Christmas, I should have done a story time just over Christmas, y'all. Everybody in my family at Christmas in Vegas got deathly ill with the flu, the stomach flu, head colds, and by the grace of the Lord Jesus, I skipped it. I missed it. I don't even know how. I don't know how. There were literally like 5 people that were sick with this. And my fiance gets colds and brings, and I have just skipped everything. While I was in the hospital, I got it. And literally, I've explained to you guys before that like a normal cold for me is like a death sentence because of my deviated septum and my condylar bullosa. I'll put everything here. And my Meniere's disease, it started with an upper respiratory infection. Like I said, if you guys follow me on social media, you'll have heard me. I basically had no voice, and I had such a violent cough that it damaged my vocal cords, and I almost had like no voice. And they wanted to give me steroids for the inflammation because the infection went here, and I believe now it's in my ears because I'm dealing with a lot of pressure and imbalance in my ears. So that's usually where it always goes, which is kind of the worst for me. But they wanted to give me steroids for the inflammation, but I guess steroids messes with your potassium levels or whatever. So because of my disorder, they didn't want to give me steroids. I literally have been dealing with this for like 2 weeks. this upper respiratory infection, sinus infection, been on antibiotics, medication. Not only did I get out of the hospital and dealt with that, then right after that, I got sick with all this sickness where I was bedridden. Like I said, if you guys have heard me talk about my illnesses and ailments before, colds and infections, I'm bedridden from it because of the vertigo and how it goes to my head. And I was already down and out and very weak from almost dying from low potassium levels. And then I have that. And then on top of that, I started to feel better from the infection and the whatever it was. Literally one morning, I woke up and I did something to my hip. I don't know if it was from laying around so much and being in bed and kind of being bedridden during that time. I felt very stiff and sore. So I started to kind of stretch one day just to kind of stretch out my body, and because my hips felt very sore from just laying in bed. And I don't know, I tore something or I strained something, because now it's like all where your hip flexor muscles are, all inside there is horrible, horrible, horrible pain. Awful pain. Like I said in the beginning, to the point of it makes me feel nauseated, like I want to vomit. I didn't even have this much pain when I broke my ankle. So if this continues for a couple more days, I'm probably going to have to go into the doctors, because I don't know what's going on. But this, like, I can barely walk. It's that bad. To sit down on a toilet, just sitting here like this to get up, it's going to be hard. To bend over and like pick something like up off the floor, it's really bad. So we start going to the ER, and with low potassium levels and almost die from life-threateningly low levels and low blood pressure and all that. Then we get out of that, and in the hospital we catch an upper respiratory infection that goes into a sinus infection and is now probably an ear infection. And then thirdly, from that sickness, my hip is to the point of not being able to walk and being in such excruciating pain. But you know what? Things could always be worse. So there you go. That's what's going on with me. If you guys pray, please pray for me. Some positive thoughts, good vibes, whatever it is you think of with the universe or the Lord, please send some good vibes and keep me in your prayers, because I really, really need them. I'm typically a very strong person, and when everything happened to me, I felt really, I kept that strength how I always do. I always keep pushing and punching. But when this hip thing happened, I'm being tested big time, because it's just, yeah. I still can't get over it. They literally gave me medication I said 5 times I was allergic to. Yeah, my mom went off. And when the really nice nurse showed my mom on the monitor that that's what they had given me, my mom said, God, she's allergic to that. Once they got me upstairs into like my own separate, like an official room to stay in the hospital, my mom was talking to somebody upstairs about them having given me Reglan and the list of medications. And the woman was showing my mom on the monitor, Reglan was no longer there. That they hadn't given me Reglan. My mom saw it downstairs on the monitor, and the nurse told her, well, they gave her Reglan. The nurse told her that. Or the attendant, whoever it was in the ER, told her, no, they gave her Reglan. It shows right here on the monitor. She walked my mom over to the monitor and she showed her. And when my mom had told her, well, no, she's allergic to that. You guys need to do something, counteract to get it out of her system. Once we were upstairs, and my mom was going to show whoever on the monitor, see, they had given her Reglan, it had been taken off. Somebody was trying to cover their tracks, weren't they? I said, I'll fill you guys in on the other, I think, when I get more answers, what's going on there. But please pray for me if you do, or good thoughts and stuff, because I need them. I am really in the storm right now. I am on the battlefield. Things could always be worse. That I do know. So I just have to be thankful for where I am right now and be thankful for what I do have. And that's what I have to remind myself of constantly. I hope you guys are having a great day. Please be kind to each other always. I will see you guys in another video soon.
So they had me up at 5 a.m. trying to find a different vein. It was nice and bloody. It's awesome. Spent the night in the hospital. The fancy life of sitting in a hospital room. Yay. Sounds like the fire alarm's going off. Something about a fire in the dining area. I don't know. Now there's an alarm going off saying there's a code red. Code red. I hate hospitals so bad.